Right, it is live. Hey, everybody, this is Adam with the Productivity Academy. Today is the 18th of July. This is episode 91, getting close to 100. I'm pretty pumped about that. But before we get into everything, I just wanted to go over what we're going to be talking about today. Came across a really good I don't know, I guess it was a post statement and a little bit of a question about the best kind of productivity setup that somebody had and they wanted to share with people. And I thought it was a really good example of how you can get a lot of power out of having a fairly simple process. But I thought they left one important thing out, so I want to go over that. And then also I want to talk a little bit about Monday.com, formerly known as Depulse. I've been using this for project management now for I think a little bit over a year and a half. And they've really come into their own, and I'm really starting to use it a lot more, and I want to go over some of the reasons why and just expose you to this a little bit. If it's something you think you could use for your team or for project management, I highly suggest you take a look at it. So with that said, before we hop into it, I do want to also say if you're joining us live, that's great. Go ahead and ask questions as time allows. I will answer those. If you're watching in the Facebook group, that's awesome. Hello. And if you're watching the replay on YouTube, that's great too. You can click subscribe to stay up to date with these, as well as videos about app reviews, automation, team building, all that sort of good stuff. And if you do want to come join us in the free Facebook group, you can find that link down below. Click that, and then you do have to answer 3 questions just about where you found the group and what you're most interested in terms of productivity. Make sure that you really want to be there. So guarantee you can pass the test. It's not difficult. So with that said, let's get into it. So the very first thing I mentioned was basically how somebody had written out, they said, hey, I talked to somebody, they gave me these good ideas. Here's what I've implemented as turned my life around in the last 18 months. And I personally was really interested because, fantastic kind of a headline. It was in a forum. And then I went through, and a lot of what the guy had done and implemented in his life was stuff that I recommend that people do. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. It's just stuff like implementing the daily review, right? Kind of being the foundation of your day. Having a routine, structuring your time, understanding where your time goes, and a couple other things, pretty top-level time management. And it was fantastic. The guy was super pumped, was excited. He was working less, getting more done, felt better, all that sort of stuff. But then that was kind of it. And I say that just because immediately I started thinking of, this guy, the next step for him, and he may not see it yet, is that he needs to now implement some sort of a review. And I say that just in a general sense because there's a lot of different ones you can set up, and I'll talk a little bit about those. But the idea being, in general, that you set up these processes, and, it doesn't matter what system you use. Maybe you've read the foundation that I wrote, and you decide to use those, and that's your setup. Maybe you're a big fan of David Allen, you've read Getting Things Done, you just say, I'm going to go Evernote and implement this 100%. But whatever you do, whatever process, whatever style, whatever it is, you need to have some sort of review so you can get an understanding of, hey, is this working for me? And more likely than not, what's working well and what isn't. And that's why I try to tell people, if you like what I'm talking about, you like these ideas, you like the methods, that's great. Put them into work or into work for you, but then go and over time you're gonna customize them, right? What works for me is not gonna work exactly for you. There's the higher level ideas like having a review. That is something everyone can use. Maybe you don't want to schedule it at the same time every week that I do, or you don't want to have the reminders in the same way. It's more that you have these general processes in place. So with the review, for this person in particular, somebody who had over the past 6 months or a year really put into place these building blocks for their productivity, what I would have recommended them to do is to start just the one next step that would really help take them up to the next level would be to implement a weekly review. And I would do that. I would start with 30 minutes. And I would put this into my calendar, and I would make sure that for me, again, this is something where this is personal and it may not be the same for you, but I would go somewhere different. Okay, if that's out of the office, it could just be into a different room. For myself, I like to go out, grab some coffee, even if it's somewhere kind of loud or busy. I find that just getting out and kind of removing myself and being in a new situation helps. And then I go back and I answer those questions, like what's something I can automate or delegate or get rid of this week? What's something that's worked really well for me this week, and what's not working well, and how can I either do less of it or get it off my plate. And doing that, is kind of the next step. And I know a lot of people don't dedicate the time to it, or it slides by. And I guarantee you, if you put this into your schedule, put it somewhere, it's one of those, again, you've got to hold it, pretty much sacred and make sure that you always do it. Always being that 80% rule, right? Like, I drink my own Kool-Aid, but I also realize that it's the real world. I just try to make sure I do it the vast majority of the time. And I missed it last week because I was on vacation. But that said, the results from this have been fabulous. So I talked at a live event in Washington, D.C. last year, and I was talking about this from a time savings perspective. And just sitting down once a week, and as part of my weekly review, saying, what can I automate, delegate, delete? I would have saved 115 hours in 2018. It was kind of crazy. That's like a work week. And because it's stuff that adds up over time, even if you only save 10 minutes a day or, 30 minutes a week, you figure out a way to either get rid of it or automate it or whatever. If it's something that's recurring, that's a huge amount of time savings. And you just keep doing this week after week after week after week, and you kind of build upon that. So that's a little bit of an insight into the power of that. And this could be literally as simple, like the practical application of this can be as simple as, like I said, maybe go sit down somewhere else or get up, stand up, go in the kitchen, go in another office, and, have a pad of paper and just write down these three things. What can I automate, delegate, or delete? What has worked the best for me over the past week, and how can I get more results like that? And then what isn't working so well, and how can I either get rid of it, get it done in less time, or pass it off to someone else if it absolutely has to be done. And then keeping those together somewhere. For me, I do this in Evernote, and I just have a folder where I just put all these in each week, and it helps to go back sometimes and to review. Am I still doing what I need to do? Am I out of ideas? Sometimes I sit down, I have my coffee, I'm gonna think, okay, what can I do to be more productive? And I just kind of blank, and that's fine. Because now I've got this little file where it's like, oh, that's right, I kind of automated this, or I set this up for a client, and I saved them time doing whatever, I should implement that now because I'm doing the same thing. Just having that is kind of like the idea of you hear of people who do a lot of writing, they have a swipe file. Same idea, having this go-to just kind of to tickle the brain and get you going so that you don't sit there and say, well, I guess I can do nothing, right? Because there's always something you can do. So I found again, that you can then implement this on larger time scales. And I just mean for myself, that, doing a monthly review of some sort, and then definitely a 90-day or a quarterly review, and then a yearly review. If you want to do more or less than that, that's fine. Like I always say, just make this your own. But if you need somewhere to start, definitely a weekly review, and I would say definitely a quarterly review. And then, once you feel like you've got grips on that, then you can move up to doing something like, monthly or yearly, whatever it is that you get the best results from. And by taking the time to review, you'll see the results. And so maybe if you do, a few quarterly reviews, if you're not seeing the results you want or any results, you could say, am I doing this correctly? Am I investing the time? If I'm not, maybe I need to be a little bit more serious about it, or, regular, or whatever it is. And if not, maybe you just need to change how you're doing it. So hopefully that's enough to get you started on that. And I think that doing a review in various areas can be just incredibly helpful. Like I said, save you a lot of time and help speed up that process. Instead of just going with any method, again, whether it's your morning routine or whatever it is, and just sticking with that forever, saying, hey, I always have room for improvement. What's one little thing I could do better? And I guarantee you that's going to lead to some great results. All right. Let's see. I'm going to check real quick for some questions, either in the group. Don't see anything, so I'm going to move on to talking a little bit about Monday and how I've been using that. If you have any questions, pop over and leave them for me and in the Facebook group. Let me share my screen over here. Okay, so this is Monday if you haven't heard of it. I can't share mine right now. I've got a lot of client details in there. I don't think they'd be too jazzed to have me sharing all of their details on a live stream. But I do want to go through this in case you're not familiar with it. And I think the GIFs on the page do a really good job of showing this. But they've got a lot of different layouts, and they're really showcasing how you can do this. There's stuff you can have with timelines. You can have Kanban boards like Trello. You can have what they call pulses. It's just more of like a row of data. I found that this has been really good. Now, I'm not going to, if you're looking for a free service, I think Trello is still a great one and can do several of these. But if you're managing a team or if you're really dealing with clients and you've got some complexity in there, I find that this tool like this is really helpful. And it does integrate with Zapier, so there's a lot of automation you can do. So with the customization, you really can drag and drop this stuff around like they're doing. And I agree with this right here. It's easy, it's visual, and intuitive, all right? You can get complex with it, but to get started, it is easy, and I do like the visual part. So for those of us who are interested or who learn or easily use visual methods as opposed to maybe just writing things out in a bullet list all the time, that this can be really good. Also, this is neat. I'm not going to say that I have a lot of experience with this. I've just started dealing with this, but you can create dashboards that look at your individual boards. So like what they're showing here is a dashboard that maybe you have a calendar showing different things. You obviously have a budget. You've got a little Kanban board here, and then you can see where maybe, how many tasks you have in various projects. Let's see. I'm not going to read through all this. You can go over to Monday and check it out. It's pretty awesome. But I've found project management to be one of the, obviously, the strong points of this. And being able to have, like they said, 3 views. So you have this, maybe you've got a client, or let's just go with theirs. You have team projects, you've got different groups on a board, you've got all these tasks, but then you can move it over and look at it in a Kanban sense, like Trello, and see, okay, where are all of these at? Like how many things are at this area or this step, instead of having to look through and see it this way. Or you could look at a calendar and see it that way, like where are things at, or where are due dates at. And then you can assign tasks, you can write content inside of each one of these lines. You can tag people in there, you can upload pictures, you can write code, all sorts of stuff. So if you haven't seen Monday, I highly suggest that you check that out in terms of just going and seeing it for yourself and seeing if that might be something. I believe they offer a free trial. I'll send a link over. But again, it's something that if you're really doing a lot of projects, you do any client work, or you have a team, that's maybe something you want to look at for yourself. So definitely be doing some more videos on that in the future if people are interested in finding out more. I'm going to hop over. I don't see any questions today, so I think that is going to wrap it up. So if you got any questions, you can find the link either above or below, depending on where you're watching, to ask those ahead of time if you want to get those answered. And again, if you're checking this out on YouTube, you can hit subscribe to stay up to date with, of course, these videos, as well as videos on automation, team building, app reviews, all that sort of good stuff. So that'll do it for this week. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.